All right, so good morning. I was impressed that the math was correct on everybody's critical thinking. Nobody got it wrong. In the past, I suspect that some of you have talked to people from other classes because I didn't change the math from last semester. And so you could have gotten the math from somebody else, although I guess some of you didn't bother to ask the other semester what I asked in terms of what I looked at in terms of the grading of critical thinking, because it was beyond just the math. You were expected to be able to go beyond the math and make recommendations on the math and what it represents. What nobody except one team, which did a good job, and I gave them a shout out on the news items, that they actually caught the ambiguity, which is what? The ambiguity was whether or not I would round up. So should Raoul have even bothered to take the final exam? Was it mathematically possible for him to get the higher grade? If you round, it is. So you should have picked up on that, and one group did pick up on that. There are a number of ways that you could use that you could solve the mathematical part. You could say each of the exams is worth 15%, so you can put that as a decimal, multiply it by the exam score, and come up with a figure, and then you could add all of those figures up, right, to get a total. That's one way that you can calculate the weighted average. The second method is that you could have said, well, each of them, the whole category as a whole is worth 60 points, so you could have taken all of the exams together, averaged them out, taken that average, and then multiplied it by 0.6 and come out with the same thing. So there's a couple of different methods that you can use to do the weighted average, and I just show you that so that you can figure your grades at the end of the semester. Again, the reason I did it is twofold. One, so that you can get this idea of value. Two, a lot of people say, this is a marketing class, why are we going to have to do math? When we get to the part on product pricing, services pricing, I will ask you to calculate a number of things like return on investment, whether or not companies should use that formula versus others in terms of profitability. And so you'll actually have to do some more math, and so I don't want you to be totally shocked when you get to the end and you have a little bit of math. So that was the critical thinking challenge on weighted averages and value. And we had another one that we started, which was, what is justice, and what does justice have to do with marketing, which is what we're going to do today. I gave you time at the end of the last class to work on this, and we're going to talk about your answers, and I want to give you some time today to think about this as well and develop your answers. If you've already submitted it, you may want to resubmit it, because now that you've had an opportunity to think about it overnight and digest it, what I would like for you to do for this exercise, for what you submit, is I would like you to have a 5-paragraph essay. This is the way academics write. It's the way you can be successful in school as a whole. So I'd like for you all to come up with an introduction, an introductory paragraph, and that introductory paragraph should contain a thesis statement. So you're going to say, justice is blank. And it is important to marketing because, right? I'm giving you the formula. These are the examples. So then you have a body of your work, and you're going to have 3 substantive examples. A, advertising, for example. B, product development. C, pricing. You can use these or you can use others. And then finally, you should have a conclusion. So, thesis statement, you're going to tell me what you're going to tell me. The body, you're going to tell me. And then you're going to do what? You're going to tell me what you said. This is the way academics write. Going to make an argument. Going to present the evidence for your argument. Then you're going to tell me what you said. All right, so I'll give you about 10 minutes. You have until midnight tonight to turn it into the Dropbox for your group. We'll talk about it. I'll give you about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll come back at 1 o'clock and we'll talk about your answers to these questions. What is justice and what does it have to do with marketing? All right? What were you saying?
No, I just said and Oklahoma, I guess.
Yes, but we are the most religious country in the free world. Most other Western nations are no longer as religious as we are. In fact, there are Western nations that are now a majority of atheists. The Netherlands, for example. No, they're not agnostic. There's a difference there. An agnostic is someone who says, I don't think you can prove the existence or non-existence of God. So you have agnostic theists, like myself. I don't believe that you can prove the existence or non-existence of God, but I believe, sincerely. I mean, I have a very sincere belief system. Not a faith. I will not say I have faith because I question every single day, but I have a belief system. And then there are agnostic atheists, people who say, you can't prove it to me, therefore I don't believe. And there are more agnostic atheists in the Netherlands than there are people who actually believe in God at this point. There are more atheists than anything else. Yeah?
Well, and you also have the Ten Commandments. If you're thinking about Christianity, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not sleep around, basically.
That's not what it says.
That's not what it
That's not what the commandment says.
Thou shalt not steal.
Yes, exactly. But basically, those are morals that we live by, right? We don't we shouldn't steal. That's something that is in religion.
This is one of the problems with using religion. Whose book are we going to use?
Yeah.
You said there's agnostic atheists and agnostic what?
Theists.
Okay.
Agnostic theists, people who believe, like myself. I don't think that you can prove or disprove the existence of God, but I do believe. All right, very good. By the way, the marketing of religion is one of the reasons that it is successful in this country. Because churches are not supported, they have to provide value. And so they do. But the biggest portion, or the biggest growing denominations in the United States are no longer the traditional denominations. They are denominations that have figured out how to market it, how to make it relevant to your generation with laser light shows and theology light. God help us all. Well, it is. All right.
I'm from Marketing Anonymous.
Marketing Anonymous, okay.
And we just have a definition of justice is the behavior being morally right and fair.
Okay, so we've got another fairness. Wow, we're really getting a lot of fairness. Okay.
And then as far as examples, one of them is being fairness to your customers. You have a product that comes out, something goes wrong, your customers come back. So you kind of have this liability to act on it and make it right.
Okay, so you've got some idea. Your example here is, I'm running out of room, a warranty.
Yeah.
Now this is a good example because this is an example of how all of this stuff, we talk about these items like they are exclusive categories or silos in the textbook, and they're not. They overlap. So obviously there is an overlap between ethics and the law. And when we talked about environmental scanning, we talked about the legal environment that people exist in and businesses have to compete in. And part of that is the warranty. And one of the things that underlies every contract is a common law doctrine called the doctrine of good faith and fair dealing. And this has now been codified in the positive law of our nation in something called the UCC in all 50 states. So under all contracts, we say there's this covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And as part of that, there's also something called the implied warranty of merchantability that we impose on manufacturers. That you should manufacture a good for its purpose, and it should be reasonably well made for that purpose. So that's a good example, I think. Okay, what else?
We also have regulations, just like abiding by regulations.
So we have another one for the law. Okay.
And then honest marketing and putting out your product and being honest about it.
So we have another honesty. All right. Okay. All right. Very good. Oh, okay. Got to jump up quick. All right. So what's your team?
The almost organized.
Almost organized. Okay. You're going to almost give me an answer.
Justice is the quality of being just, righteous, and morally correct.
Morally correct. Okay, right and wrong. Correctness. Okay. All right.
Perception is a very important aspect of marketing, and people tend to favor sound moral tendencies.
Okay. So there's some idea of desserts that if you do well, people will do business with you. We certainly hope that's true.
Justice is a moral quality that all marketers should have. We believe if you lack this, then it could hurt your reputation.
Okay, so there's this idea of reputation here, and of course that goes along, I think, with honesty. Okay.
I have a few examples.
All right.
One is committing a crime and being fairly punished, unlike the Stanford
So
student.
we have another desserts theory.
A kid being bullied at school and someone stands up for them to be treated equally.
Okay, so we have equality.
And when it comes to advertising, they normally try to show you the good in things, which there could be more bad than good, but they need to be honest and tell people what their product actually is and the worth of it.
Okay, so with regard to, say, drug companies, do they do enough of that at the end where they tell you all the side effects?
Yeah, but they should make it bigger.
They should make it bigger.
Yeah.
Could cause death.
Yes.
Take this and your head could fall off.
Yes.
Or it could cure your headache, maybe.
Maybe, well, you know, the head falling off is a cure for the headache. I can cure your headache by cutting your head off. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's an absolute cure for the headache. Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. So, anything else? We have another group. All right. So we've got a lot of good ideas up here about what is justice. Now, a lot of them are equally as abstract as the concept of justice itself. Like, what is fairness? If I bring in a sack of cookies, and you all learned this, you learned the Communist Manifesto in kindergarten when you brought the cupcakes, and you couldn't just bring them for the cool kids, could you? Your friends, your posse, you had to, if you brought cupcakes, you had to bring, that's communistic, isn't it? Is that so? If I have a sack of cookies and I bring them in here, should I distribute them one cookie per student or equally? Is that fair?
It's our view of fair.
Okay, that's called equality of results. How about this? Let's translate that. Let's make an analogy to grades. I will treat everybody fairly in this class. You all are getting Fs. It's fair.
That's not fair because the
No, it's fair. It's absolutely fair.
the performance is different. Whereas we didn't do anything for the cookies or.
What? Are you some kind of fascist?
Do we know that that's our grade beforehand, so we have time to drop the class and take the board? Actually,
Well, maybe.
that's not fair. If you're up front with it, then it's
Oh, okay, it's
you have
fair.
it on it.
But for the cookies, like your personal performance as being a friend could be the difference between you getting a cookie and not getting a cookie.
Right? Whether or not I like you is maybe, you know.
College isn't about the grade.
I had a student several semesters ago. I was saying things like, you should write this down because it's important. And she literally put her little pencil down, folded her arms, looked at me, and audibly sighed. And I suggested to her that whether or not she liked me was unimportant as far as the grade went. What was important was whether or not I liked her, and I didn't like her. Maybe, you know, you should suck up, like a largemouth bass, and your grade might increase. I don't know. Although that would seem rather arbitrary, wouldn't it? I had a teacher in high school who used to have this mood ring that she'd go around, and if the ring turned black, oh, you were doomed. That was all it took. So, yeah, these are, a lot of this is equally as abstract as this idea of justice. We have some examples here that I think are good, that kind of lend to you know, maybe helping us put some meat on the bones. Now, why is it that we should study this thing and this idea of philosophy in a marketing course? Well, this discussion is going to help us as an activity really think about things in depth and clarify. And what we are going to do as marketers ultimately is we're going to make arguments. And philosophy really helps us do that. And this exercise on justice really helps us do that. It helps us really pin down what it is that we mean. So philosophy answers three great questions that are relevant to all people, all societies, and all the academic disciplines from the beginning of history until now. And those are the question of knowledge. What is it that I can know, and how can I know it? And this becomes really critical, I think, for marketers, particularly those that are involved in advertising. And we think we know what we're saying, and maybe we don't. So let's think about this really hard. What is this that I am leaning on? Are you sure? It's a desk. Now, if we can't even get something as simple as this, what is it?
An object.
It's a support. Why is it, you said table, why did you say table?
It does the functions of a table?
It doesn't function, so if I use it for sitting, is it now a chair?
No. Oh, you can,
Sitting on a
yes.
table.
But it's not a chair, but it does the functions of a table.
Okay, why is it not a desk?
Because it looks bigger than the desk.
It looks bigger than a desk?
It's not shaped like a desk.
It's not shaped like a desk? Well, how's the desk supposed to be shaped?
I don't
Not like
have
that.
one of those in my kitchen either, so it's not a table.
You don't have one of these in your kitchen, do you?
No, I'm not eating off that as a desk. There's books on it.
I don't use my coffee table to eat off of, but it's still a table.
So, when you sit at your, how many of you use your dining room table to study?
I do.
So does that make it a desk?
No. A table.
See, this is gonna be hard. A lot of times we think we know what we're saying, and I don't think we do necessarily know what we're saying. And a lot of times in our advertising and our communication, we send out messages to our consumer that are not at all what we thought they were. I'm out of time, so we'll pick up with this next time. Be sure to submit your answers by midnight tonight in the Dropbox. If you already submitted them and you want to change, you might want to submit another one. Just let me know, put a note in there that, hey, we submitted one, we're going to change our answer based on today's discussion. Alright, so as you all come back in, I'm going to move this board over here. I have the roll sheet. Since you all were going outside, I didn't want to pass it. Put this over here, hopefully everybody can see it. I'm going to start the roll at the back. Be sure to sign it, make sure the back is around. So you all have your answers, hopefully. You can have until midnight tonight to submit the final version of whatever it is you have. But let's see what you all have come up with, and we'll see if we can come up with some commonalities between your arguments about what is justice. So who wants to go first? Which group wants to go first? Sure, come on in. All right. Yep. What's your answer? Why is this nerve-wracking? There's a lot of people in here. Well, just don't look at them and pretend they're not there. And we can have a conversation. Go ahead. So what did you come up with? What is justice?
We said that justice is a legal or philosophical theory by which fairness is administered.
Okay. So you've got legal. You've got fairness. By what?
By which fairness is administered.
Okay. So the idea of fairness. What's fair?
I think we can put it.
Okay. Donald Trump said when he was running against the 17 other people in the Republican Party, he would support the nominee of the Republican Party if he thought they treated him fairly. And people said, what do you mean by fairly? And he said, well, you know what fair is. Do we know what fair is?
Depends on the person.
It depends. Oh, so it's individualistic. Okay. What else?
I mean, that's all the definition that we got.
All All right, that's fine. What did you come up with for your examples?
We said like someone that's been like wrongly accused and they get released from prison.
Okay, so examples, we'll put examples over here. We have desserts. The desserts theory. You know what the desserts theory is? You give people their just desserts. You've heard that saying before, right? Give them their just desserts. Okay. All right, what else?
We said companies that have been falsely accused of like fraud and they get cleared from it.
Okay. So
That's kind of the same thing.
that's kind of desserts too. Okay, what else?
There was this case that a company had where an employee lied about their time card.
All right. So you're talking about honesty.
Yeah.
Boy, all of these are really bad. Remind me to throw all of these away so that I don't go back in the box. And just There's one that works, honesty. Okay, all right, very good. Who wants to go next? Good, good job. No one, everyone gets to go. All right. So let's sell your ideas here.
So for justice, we came up with a couple of definitions. The first one that we came up with was a secondary action to a problem, or
So you've got reaction.
yes, rightfulness or lawfulness as of a claim or title, justness of ground or reason, and then the
I think
quality of being
reason.
fair and reasonable.
So you also said fairness, so we've got 2 for fairness there.
And then our three examples were like law, like the legal side of it, like false advertising would be obviously unlawful.
So we've got another one for honesty.
And then like reputation, like the reputation of the business itself. Or discrimination towards certain groups.
No discrimination. Okay, so let me ask you this with regard, since you came up with discrimination. Is discrimination bad?
From the company's standpoint, I mean, it kind of depends on what they're looking at, because they may be marketing to certain groups.
Okay.
But from a community standpoint as a whole, it may not be, because you're marketing to that specific audience. So.
Under the strictest definition of the word of discrimination, is everybody in here going to receive the same grade? Is that discriminatory? It is discriminatory. I'm going to discriminate based on what? Based on performance in this class. Whether or not you do well on the exams, you turn in the papers that's discrimination. Is it bad discrimination?
No, it's not. It's good for the community as a whole.
Okay.
That is discrimination brought on ourselves versus discrimination coming from your own prejudice.
I think it's discrimination that's not arbitrary.
Okay.
All right. I mean, what we want is we want non-arbitrary discrimination. But under the strictest sense, we do discriminate every day. We don't take all customers. Rolex doesn't want everybody to own a Rolex.
Sure.
They are very discriminating in their taste of who they want to own a Rolex, right?
Yeah.
Timex wants to sell to everybody. That's the deal. Okay, all right, very good. Who else wants to go next? Vera, clap. See if I give you positive reinforcement that it makes the coming up here less painful. I don't understand why you people don't like to talk in front of groups. I wanted to be a country and western superstar, but I'm a tone-deaf flat baritone. So I had to become a college professor instead so I could have an audience. All right. What'd you all come up with? Which group are you?
Infinite Horizons.
Infinite Horizons. This is important that you remember your brand identity.
Okay, our justice
right and wrong. So you've got something about process, okay?
And we said that you have to have morals to be ethical, and you have to be ethical to have justice.
Okay.
And our three examples.
I think that's circular reasoning, but all right.
It sounded good.
It sounds good. I think it's what we call begging the question, but that's okay. This is not a course in logic, so.
Well, my son said something to say, so.
Okay.
My 3 points are spokespersons for companies,
Okay.
like Ryan Lofty, and false advertising, like menus on TV.
Okay, so we've got another one for honesty. You want honesty. Spokespeople. What are we going to say about Ryan Lochte? What did he? That he should lose his sponsorships?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's not represented well.
Okay. Okay. Of course, when they hired him or when they sponsor him, they're not sponsoring him because he's just this great, upstanding person, right? There are lots of people in the NFL, for example, that have sponsorships. And the companies that sponsor them are not necessarily sponsoring them because they're the most morally outstanding people. We can think of numerous examples, for example, in the NFL. Which was the football player that had the pit bulls?
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick. And he's come back, hasn't he? And companies are sponsoring him again. Tiger Woods lost some of his sponsorships. People have come back to him. Morally problematic, maybe. Okay, what else did you have?
Price gouging.
Okay, price. Okay. This is an example of fairness, right? This idea that it's just not right, even though you have the goods, you have the right to sell them what you want. You shouldn't take advantage or unfair advantage of a bad situation. So what's an example of price gouging? Well, when the hurricane is a-coming, which we're in hurricane season now, things like lumber yards increasing the price of plywood that people need to put over their windows simply because there's an increase in demand. Drinkable water, gasoline to try and get out. Yes, sir.
The guy that had like the AIDS drug or whatever.
That increased the cost 5,000%. There's a more recent example of that. The EpiPen has gone up by 500%, and they've decided now that you can no longer just buy one EpiPen. They've gotten them to what? You're saying that's your example?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it more depth. I'll be fair. All right.
That
Anything?
was our specific example.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. Who wants to go? Who's the next victim? It'll be like The Price is Right. Come on down. You're winning all this knowledge. Isn't that enough? No. You're learning how to make a presentation. All right. Yes, sir. Which group?
Team efficiency.
Team efficiency. All right. So what did you come up with?
Okay, so we thought that justice is mostly subjective. It varies from individual to individual about people's senses of right or wrong. How this plays with the firm is, or the individual, is how they deal with their justice. So, for example, Target. Target did like the, I'm trying to remember here, the bathroom. Basically, they were supporting like transgender rights with the bathrooms and stuff. They made a minority a bit angry with that. So the idea is you can't make everyone happy, so you pick your foes, you pick them well.
Okay. And we should pick our customers. You don't want all customers. Some customers are not worth having. They may cost you more money.
Yeah.
Even though we've talked about the idea of customer lifetime value, some customers you want to get rid of. Okay, so your examples were Target, individualistic, what else? Target.
general, honesty is definitely a big one. If we find that something's dishonest, we might not trust the firm quite as much.
So we've got another one.
Target would go with no discrimination.
With what?
The no discrimination.
No discrimination.
Yeah. Well, they are kind of discriminating, but like, the idea is, my idea is that you can't discriminate against one without discriminating. You can't not discriminate against one without discriminating against the other. It's
They're
an endless
discriminating by
cycle.
opening up.
Yeah,
By
pretty much.
including more people is how they're discriminating.
Unfortunately, that's the
I get
case.
what you're saying.
Well, we do discriminate on the basis of ability all the time.
Yeah.
We do offer certain benefits as a basis, that can be discriminatory.
Yeah.
Preferences, for example, in hiring, the federal government gives you preferences in jobs if you are a veteran. That's discriminatory, isn't it, against non-veterans? But we generally say that's okay because it's a valid reason. All right. Okay, very good. Anything else?
Kindness and empathy are big aspects of justice.
Oh, empathy. All right. The ability to relate. I tell students all the time that I have a lot of empathy for you because whether you believe it or not, at one point in time I sat where you sat. Now I say I don't have any sympathy. There's a difference because, I'm not terribly sympathetic, but I have a lot of empathy for you. No sympathy whatsoever. Lots of empathy. I can relate.
Yeah.
I was not like Venus born of the phone, okay?
Yeah, actually that reminds me of another example. It's not exactly justice related, but I know a few firms and individuals that will basically try to post like their target audience. There's the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, of all things. The person who runs that, they clearly use Twitter quite a bit for all sorts of other things, so they will post things you normally wouldn't see on a business's Twitter page.
Okay.
They
Sometimes
want to
businesses really step in it when they get honest, when they get out there and they are on Twitter. Donald Trump, of course, a lot of people are saying that's refreshing that Donald Trump says these things out loud that other people maybe are thinking. Maybe we need to eliminate political correctness. All right, very good. Who else wants to get there?
My name is Mark, and I'm from Team Determinators.
The Terminators, all right.
And basic definition for justice is it is a measurement, basically a moral measurement of fairness.
Okay, so we have another word for fairness. Measurement. Yeah.
And equality,
Oh, equality.
which is kind of equal opportunity for everyone. And our first two examples are pretty common, which we decide on going out of like cigarettes ads and drinking ads. Where it's, I guess, not as truthful or there's not a lot of ethos, there's not a lot of ethics, I guess, truthful ethics towards putting the ad out. They will say this is to make you feel good, relaxed, calm, or just positive. They don't look at the negative side effects, of course, because we want to bring future profits. And then our last one was, I guess, I had a situation where I went to the eye doctor once, and they prescribed me eye drop, I guess. But I don't know the right term to use here, but for some reason I heard that the one prescribed me is much more expensive than the one they could have prescribed me, which is basically the same thing, very artificial one. But they do the same thing, and I don't know if it's companies that deal with certain eye doctor.
Right, the drug companies go out and they give doctors all kinds of stuff. They used to give them a lot more. The government has actually cracked down, so my business actually used to take advantage of this. We do murder mysteries. And we used to do a lot of murder mysteries for drug companies that would ask us to write their drug into a murder mystery. They would have doctors come and they would, they get dinner and drinks and stuff like that. And then, of course, they would do a presentation on the product that they were trying to sell at the end of the murder mystery and try to get doctors to write script. That's the way drug reps operate. They're salespeople, but they're what we call missionary salespeople because they go out, they're not actually selling to the consumer, they're selling to somebody who has an influence over what the consumer buys, the doctor. The IRS came out with new rules that said if you give doctors gifts for things like that, you have to 1099 them, and so they stopped doing it. So what did the drug companies do? They started advertising direct to consumers rather than necessarily having as many drug reps going out and taking doctors out and wining and dining them. But it was an interesting thing that happened because then you get the doctors to write that they won't allow the generic on the script, is what you're hoping. Or if the drug is still under a patent, that they're writing the drug instead of the alternative, maybe not necessarily the generic, but the other, drug that could be out there. There are all kinds of drugs for cholesterol, for example, and you want them to write the drug for the one that you're selling. Okay, so with regard to equality, I like one of your examples. You came up with 2 examples here, cigarettes and drinking. We no longer allow direct consumer advertising of tobacco products. It's not, you can't do it. It used to go back in time, and there were all kinds of ads on television for cigarettes and things like that. They can't do it. How are they doing that now? What are cigarette companies doing now to get you to smoke?
They are sending cute girls out to bars and
They do that. They're also doing product placement, where they, if you've noticed, for a long time in the movies, nobody smoked because smoking became taboo. They've now started getting product placement in movies, and you see people smoking. Mad Men, for example, they're constantly smoking in Mad Men. They're using the products. We do allow you to advertise alcohol. What's the difference there?
Unless it's your liver, not your lungs.
I don't know.
They can't actually consume it on during that.
The alcohol.
The alcohol cannot be consumed throughout
Yeah,
that.
so they're
It's
still-
presented in many ways, but if you watch
Which is
any-
completely ridiculous,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
They can't.
we know what it's for, but
Wait, what did you say?
what is it? You're not there in the commercial. They're not actually allowed to consume the alcohol. They can show you like, hey, cheers, woohoo, buy this beer, but they can't actually buy this beer. Ah.
I was in a movie and we put like water in the beer thing to kind of drink it. But you still
Okay.
have, we're under the impression that you see it.
But you're in
Right.
a movie, not a commercial.
Product placement happens with beer in movies as well. All right, very good. Who else? Who will be next? So go and then you, since you jumped up, that's why I am. All right.
Hashtag get her done. Our blanket definition of justice would be guided by impartial standards of fairness and equity. Fairness would be the subjective and equity would be the equal.
Okay.
Our first example was, the guilty putting them in prison. Next
So we've got another desserts,
Yeah.
theorist.
And then the second one would be paying a fair price for a product like Walmart's price adjustments.
Okay, so we have another price fairness example, all right?
And then the third one was like a social justice, like in Tom's or the ASPCA, where they're using justice to market not only their brand, but their cause.
Okay, so Milton Friedman actually says this is immoral to do this, because he says the number one and the only legitimate goal of business is to maximize shareholder wealth. And anything else, what you're doing is you're stealing from the shareholders. Is that true?
Yes.
That's true. So
I find it true.
all right, what do you all think? Should companies engage in socially beneficial charity, for example? Yes?
Increases their public stock.
Okay. All right. We want to do business with companies that we think are ethical, and a lot of people do business with Tom simply because they do the one-for-one, maybe. And that feels better. If we're spending money and they're also giving away, we feel better about ourselves. Yes.
But that actually can be very detrimental to how do you say, the Tom's advertises to Africa. It actually kind of hurts Africa because it hurts their economy. That's the one thing that the buy one, give one is really tough on the people that are giving the shoe, because what are Tom's, $60, right? $60? I mean, I saw a thing that it only cost them $4 to make a pair of shoes. So out of the $8, they get $50 in profit. So it's kind of is it really beneficial? Is it really beneficial to the
People that are benefiting.
Yeah, because it doesn't. I mean, what about the people that are making shoes in the Africa?
That are now losing business because somebody's not buying it.
And it's all case by case, because I mean, I'm sure that there's organizations that don't do things like that, and they're a little bit more honest, like startups. I knew a guy in college who started a t-shirt company that he gave literally 100% of his profits to underprivileged kids in the community where everybody bought the t-shirts. So there's not, I'm not gonna say every company that uses social justice to market is like that, but the bigger brands like Tom's and stuff like that, are pretty good.
Okay, so one of the things that brings up, that your point brings up, is that we have some idea that maybe results are important, that you have to think about. And maybe there are unintended consequences. If you give stuff away, you're taking away profit from a company that may be local, that's sourcing shoes and things like that to people out. Okay, all right, very good.
One more point that I kind of read about the social justice that I thought was interesting is that it turns, the consumer is the person that is benefiting, would be like that needy child or that dog or whatever, and whoever the company is marketing to is no longer the consumer, they're like a fundraiser, they're like a financier.
Okay.
So, well, that was kind of cool.
All right, so you're thinking about consequences and results. All right, very good.
The Tom's thing, though, a lot of the kids, or a majority of the kids that they give those shoes to, wouldn't have the money to purchase the shoes there anyway, so it's not necessarily costing the local economy because they couldn't buy them anyway.
Maybe, but maybe there would be a supplier that would sell you shoes, or cheaper shoes for them. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Which group are you in?
I am with How We Met Our Partners.
How We Met Our Partners. All right. And what was your idea of justice?
Well, we don't really think there's like a universal definition of justice. It kind of varies between culture and state.
Oh, very important.
And then it's kind of based on the concept of what's morally right, then what's fair, ethics, rationality, and then law.
We have reason. Got 2 for reason now. Got a lot of fairness. Okay. Cultures that are important. What were your examples?
Okay, so mass marketing fraud, example of that.
Fraud.
Supplying goods or services that are of lower quality than what you marketed for. Like if that was the Hercules hook, if it didn't work or didn't uphold the weight that you said it would uphold, then that's fraud.
Right.
Anyway, discrimination, marketing. So selling
We got
products.
one for equality. Discrimination. Okay.
Selling products to different people for different price. Like maybe if you're selling tickets to somebody and you're trying to sell to all different prices to people based on either skin color or religion.
Okay, so we would definitely think that's wrong. However, we do that, and we see that in marketing. One of the things that you'll find is that groceries in poor neighborhoods are far more expensive than they are in wealthy neighborhoods. Why is that? And they argue that this is acceptable because it's what? No, it's more expensive in poor neighborhoods than it is in wealthy neighborhoods because they have more shrink. So they're saying that they have to make up for the shrink in the poor neighborhoods. It ends up hurting historically disadvantaged minorities, for example. But what they're saying is, look, we're taking a risk going into those neighborhoods, and there's a lot more loss from theft. It's more costly to do business there. So, okay. What else?
And then other things like with infomercials, how they market it like this price, you get 2 for $22, but then in private print, it'll say something completely different.
So again, fairness, honesty. Okay. All right.
And then I mean, another thing that it's really about, like the image of justice is, she's wearing a blindfold and holding a scale, so you can't, that's kind of goes with discrimination, not that we both sides equally about, listening thing.
Okay, so again, we have some idea of measure and proportionality there, I think. That's justice is blind, she's holding a scale, she's blindfolded, and there's a sword. The goddess is Thetis, by the way, in the other hand. So the sword of justice, the scale, to measure, and blindfolded so that you're not influenced by arbitrary factors. I think that's an important concept. Anything else? Okay, very good. encompasses what? Ethics,
Ethics, fairness, religion.
religion, so we have another law. Now we've got religion. And we have fairness again. Well, I'm running into the empathy there. With all the check marks. Okay, your examples?
First example is that people that are convicted in a courtroom by a jury of individuals.
Okay, so you've got a desserts theory here.
Honesty, telling the truth about an awful situation, whistleblowing.
Okay.
The last example is discrimination in medicine, empathy.
Okay, so you all use the EpiPen. Now, with regard to this idea of, what was your second example? Honesty and
Awful situations.
in what type of situations?
Awful situations.
Awful situations. So being brutally honest with somebody. And, you know, how many of you have seen the commercial for CTCA, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, where Peggy is on, and Peggy says, the first commercial that Peggy was in, she said, I went to my doctor and he told me I had pancreatic cancer, and I said, what do I do? And he said, well, Peggy, you're going to die. And then I went to CTCA and they found a cure. Peggy's going to die. That's, you know, well, we're all, none of us are getting out of this alive, right? But Aristotle says that the purpose of life is to prepare us for death. So we're all going to die. The chances of dying of pancreatic cancer are pretty significant. It's one of the cancers that really doesn't respond to treatment very well. So should we be brutally honest? Should her doctor have said, well, Peggy, you're going to die. Go, you know, get that will ready. Start your estate plan now. Okay?
Well, I mean,
Maybe not quite worded like that.
Brutal honesty isn't your best policy. You know what I mean? I'd rather you be honest, say I'm gonna die tomorrow than like I'm gonna go do something right now, so I don't.
Okay. So that you don't waste a whole lot of time and money on
I don't wanna
needless.
have to run around. I would rather you be upfront.
Okay.
You know what I mean? No sugarcoating it, just.
Just put it out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How is religion a part of this? I don't understand.
That's what he said, that religion plays a role in ethics and justice. Doesn't it?
Some religions, how they think and what they do, you know, like.
Aren't most people somewhat influenced by their religious background, particularly in the United States, with regard to their concepts of what